Isabel's in a state of excitement ahead of me on this one, but your good news this morning is what?
Well, we're out of recession, hopefully. Well, actually, don't take my word for it. We're back into growth. That's all I know. 0.2% growth in January. Liam Halligan's the number cruncher.
Not 2%, but 0.2%.
It matters because Well, Liam, are we out of recession or not?
Isabel, much as I'd love to give you the good news, as it were, we're not quite out of recession, but this is good news. So what is a recession? It's 2 successive quarters of negative growth, 3-month periods, and we had that. And now we've had 1 month, not a quarter, of positive growth. Let's have a look at the scores on the doors, as Larry Grayson used to say, ageing myself there. We see the GDP numbers. What is GDP? Gross domestic product, all the goods and services produced in an economy. From July to September, GDP was 0.1%, paltry growth above the same period in 2022. From October to November, it was 0.3% lower than October to December 2022. There's your recession, 2 successive quarters of negative growth. We've now had news this morning from the Office for National Statistics in January, voila, plus 0.2%. So not out of recession, but certainly if we do that in February and March, positive growth will be out of recession. And all this feeds into the interest rate decision that the Bank of England will be making on next Thursday. That's the 21st of March. What does this mean for interest rates? It probably means that the Bank of England will feel less pressure to lower interest rates. If you lower interest rates, it boosts the economy. The fact that the economy is in recession may have made some of the 9 economists at the Bank of England, the Monetary Policy Committee, think, oh, we're in recession, people are suffering, maybe we should lower interest rates now. But because the economy is growing again, they'll think, we can afford to not cut interest rates because we are still a little bit worried about wage inflation, we are still a little bit worried about oil prices going up and more price pressures in the price line. But very fine lines.
But the team in the Monetary Policy Committee will be looking at all the little details of this,
all the little details,
the ups and downs are. Services up 0.2%, production down 0.2%. What does that mean? This really
is a tale of 2 economies, but it's been this way, for many years in the UK. The service sector is doing pretty well. The services are almost 4/5, almost 80% of our economy. Because businesses are getting back up and running, there's more positive business sentiment, a sense that the cost of living crisis is at least the worst is over, though, of course, lots of people are still suffering. But manufacturing is still having a hard time. Lots of supply chains issues still there. A lot of manufacturers who contact me really screaming about ongoing, really high energy costs, electricity prices. House buildings come back a little bit in January, which is good news. But the consumers, what these figures show, what the fine print shows, is that consumers in general, consumer-facing services, so leisure, hospitality, things like that, the trend is there's still some 6% adrift of where they were before the pandemic.
6%?
Adrift.
Not 0.6?
No, that is a very big number in economics. So our consumer society has still not properly recovered. Now, people say, you walk around London, I was in the West End last night. There's lots of activity in the centre of some of our big, prosperous cities, but across the regions, in towns, a consumer flat on his or her back in many cases because they're worried about making ends meet.
I don't know. Say you live in Harrogate, right? And you
but that's posh Yorkshire, isn't it? It's not.
No. I'm saying your train fare to London.
Okay.
Your overnight accommodation. Your theatre ticket, which is around £150.
It's 500 quid for a couple, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable amount of money to spend.
I think people feel what you're talking about, that 6%, and I wonder, are they window shopping in London as opposed to doing anything else? They get the experience, but that's it.
I think there's some of that going on, but I think families are saving up for treats rather than routinely doing nice things. Just anecdotally, a lot of people are talking to me, we stayed in and played a board game, we stayed in and cooked, rather than going out for a meal, as we tend to once a week or once a month. A lot of people
are... It's hard, Liam.
Absolutely.
All of it's really hard, and you talk about that 6% adrift. When is it likely, when are we ever likely to feel the way we did 10 years ago?
Eamon, you asked me honestly, I don't think we're going to feel the way we felt before, while the tax burden remains at a 70-year high. This is not an ideological point I'm making at all. It's a point of arithmetic. If more of your money is taken in taxation, and of course we've seen headline cuts in national insurance, haven't we? We've been talking about them. We had 12 to 10% in January, 10 to 8% on the main rate of national insurance coming in April. They're quite chunky changes, but they are completely blown away by the increase in the tax burden because those thresholds have been frozen, and as people's wages and prices go up, they get dragged into higher tax brackets.
Well,
that's really casting a pall, there's a good word, P-A-L-L, on the economy.
My friend. We say goodbye to you. We thank you for your input there. We thank you for...
I'll be back, as Arnie said.